In this week's episode, 3 teams out of the remaining 6 teams will show you how everyday people can become financially free. Bavin's persona is a 19-year-old student, John, who is studying in Lincoln. Cynthia is 53-year-old Marjorie, a civil servant from London. And finally, Sen is Gary, a 30-year-old entrepreneur who is a legal battle with Amazon, leaving him with no money.
What we're doing this week is I've set the 6 remaining candidates big challenges. And you're going to be amazed at how quickly they turn those people's lives around. 1 year, 2 years, go from desperation and frustration to inspiration and financial freedom. Sen is going to be Gary. Cynthia can be Marjorie. You gave me the names. And Bavin has just had a major upgrade. He's now 19. And he's called John.
My name is Bhavin Thakur. I'm a property entrepreneur. Today's task is to create a persona of a person called John, who is 19 years old and who is enrolling into his first year of engineering college in Lincoln. First of all, he is allowed student loan, which is around £9,000 per year. And also he will get maintenance money from government for around another £9,000. So £3,000 per term. But John didn't like his engineering college and engineering job. So what he has done, he has gone into one of the 6-figure summit with Mr. Paul Smith for 2 days event. And he has heard something about student loan to be used into buying a property and all, and that idea was going into his mind. So instead of that, he said he has inquired and he has find a way where in a Lincoln, he found one property for £150,000. Now it has got 4 rooms. He will use one of the room for himself and 3 rooms he wants to let it out. To purchase this property, there is a lenders who can give 100% mortgage on that kind of a property as long as they have got a guarantor as a parents. So there are 2 companies, which is Loughborough and Bath, who gives like 100% student loans mortgage.
I can't pretend I know all the detail, but I believe in order to get 100% student loan, for instance, you have to have at least 2 years education to go. Yep. You have clearly looked it up and you found 2 of the companies that do this.
Yes.
Can you remind us of the names of the companies again?
One is Loughborough Building Society, yeah. And second is Bath.
Bath Building Society. Okay.
Bath Building Society.
Yeah, when I've done research in the past, I've actually found 4 companies that do it. So it's not every building society that does it, but it's not hard to find it. And the products that I looked at, because it's obviously building society specific, the maximum loan tends to be around about the 400k mark.
First, Loughborough is only doing it for 4 bedroom, but the Bath one only does for 3 bedroom. Yeah. So they were a rule like that as well. So I just gone through all that rules and regulations as well.
Yes, the guarantor can be a parent or a grandparent. Yeah.
Student loans are a little bit higher on a percentage, so he needs to pay around 5% of that amount. So on 150,000, he's going to pay yearly mortgage of £7,500, which is about 625 per month.
What's the interest rate on a student loan?
0%.
It's not 0, but you don't have to repay it. So it's effectively 0 for now.
Yeah.
So a student could, if the student doesn't need it, the student could take that money.
Yep.
Well, what most of them might not invest it, unless you consider Stella Artois to be an investment. But if they don't need it to live on, they could still take it because they're not going to have to pay it back until they get a job. It's relatively low interest and it's relatively far in the future.
And also with the council tax he needs to pay, which is around £80, roughly around £700 per month is going to be a cost for sustaining this house as a mortgage and council tax.
Students doing a house share, there'll be no council tax.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a huge thing, but
so
students don't pay council tax.
Yeah. Even better, yes.
An extra $1,500 a year or something.
Yeah. 3 rooms let to his 3 of the friends will generate £2,100. So he is going to live free and he is going to generate per month £1,400 income, which is going to be yearly profit of £16,800. John likes the cooking a lot, so he enjoys cooking in his spare time. So he was cooking one time food, and then 3 of his mates says, we quite like the home food. Can you cook for us and we can pay you like a tenner? John agreed, saying that, okay, I'm not going to cook for all 30 days, maybe 20 days or so, and 10 days we can go out and eat. But John is buying the stuff and cooking, and friends are helping them out. And for that, he's earning £400 per month. So he's going to get income of 20,800. So that's going to be his per year income from the house. Now also he has done one more thing, because Mr. Paul was mentioning about in Six Figure Summit that you do deal sourcing and all. So he quite like an idea of deal sourcing. So he has spent that £2,000 on deal sourcing course, and then he has found 3 deals in a year, which has given me him £3,000 each for £9,000. So his income is actually per year on the first year is 29,800. Let's say 30,000. Now out of 30,000, John has bought car for £2,000, and he had because he bought a car cheap, it got broke down, and then he has to spend £1,000 on a car as well. That's £3,000 for a year. So this is the cost is going to come out of it, and it will remain with £22,000. But he has done deal sourcing and he has earned £9,000 from it. So this comes to around 29,000 net income. What John has done is John said, okay, now income is 31,000. How best I can be able to do it? So he has taken another course with Mr. Paul Smith, commercial property, on a second year. So
yes. John's
so
getting to know me pretty well.
he has opened his limited company,
Yeah.
John and Co. £30,000 he has got an income, which he is going to put as a director's loan into this
Smart.
loan. So 31,000 is going to be given to the company as a loan by John, which he can be able to take it out later on whenever he wants without any tax to pay on it. Once he does that and he has spent like a £3,000 on commercial property course, he will be left with 28,000. So this 28,000, now he's gone and buy shop and upper because he's done a commercial property course. So he's going to buy shop and upper. So 28,000 he's going to use as a deposit, and he's going to buy shop and uppers for £80,000 in Lincoln. And then we can have like a 10% yield, which he has mentioned to get for it. So £8,000 yearly rent we are going to get. Out of that, £2,000 is going to be interest payment. So £6,000 is going to be remaining from this particular property per year. Now this 6,000 plus he is going to have this 30,000 income from the first property. Combined together goes into the third year. So on a third year he can be able to go and buy property worth of 160,000, which will generate 16K per year income. So he's going to have a 12,000 income on the third year. And a fourth year he will be able to buy property worth of 200K because his income is increasing, so he has got more deposit to pay for the fourth property. So he's going to have a 200K for the fourth property, which is going to generate 20K. Out of that, 6K is going to be interest payment. So 14K he will generate from that. After 4 years, he is going to have a property's worth of 690,000 total property values. And the income is going to be around £58,000. Out of that, he can be able to pay his student loan, and still he will be left with 25,000 plus 58,000 income for the whole life.
Anything that depreciates, like a car,
Sure.
you shouldn't really own it.
Yeah.
So anything that depreciates, rule of thumb, you want to lease it.
Yeah.
You've got a perfect opportunity there because he's doing deal sourcing.
Yeah.
To set up an LLP, lease it through the LLP, you won't pay any tax on it.
Yeah.
And he's running around in a brand new car. John, in this case, being an electrical engineer and running about being a student. In terms of work, many students have got a job, but what kind of work do? They tend to do work that gives them £8, £9, £10 an hour. So the only extra thing you've got him doing is deal packaging 3 deals a year. Well, how many hours a week's that?
1 hour, yeah. 1, 2 hours, yeah.
So for virtually no hours, he's making an extra £9,000. And I can see exactly, I mean, did I do it when I was a student? No. Could I, if I was doing it again, if I was 17 years old again now,
Yeah.
would I do that? 100% I would.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Odoi, and I'm going to play somebody who's a 53-year-old civil service worker who has a husband who's a banker and 50k a year, and has had an aunt who's left them 75,000 in a will. I've got 2 children as well, but they've left home, older children. So I'm going to set up a LLP with myself and my husband and the 2 children. Because of the 75,000 that's been inherited. I don't have a property. I've been renting all my life. So since this inheritance money came in, I've looked into schemes and found the Help to Buy scheme to buy a property. So I was in London paying very high rent and decided to go a bit further out to Kent and buy a property of 3 bedrooms as the children moved out, so I don't need nothing too big. And I found a property for 240,000, just under the stamp duty rate. I'm paying my deposit money out of that 75,000 is 12,450. That's how much I'm paying deposit. Unfortunately, my husband gets a bit sick, and he can get healed from the NHS, but he'll have to wait 3 years. Or we can pay privately and pay £12,000. After spending that money, we'll have 50,000 left. So we're going to loan that 50,000 into the LLP. Because we're from the south, we decided, okay, 50,000 won't buy a lot of property in the south, so we're going to go to the north to buy. And we're looking at the rent to own scheme in the north. So basically, we're going to use this 50,000 and try and buy a property every month using the 50,000 by offering cash and then recycling it and putting the money on mortgage with the company back on it. And we're going to do that 12 times for the year.
We need more than £50,000 though, because I don't think realistically you could buy one, refurbish it and remortgage it and buy the next one in a month. I think you could do it, but I don't think you could do it 12 times in a year.
Sorry about my handwriting.
It's very neat.
And so after the first year, we're going to end up having a cash flow, because each property in the north, we're ending up after all costs around about 250. And being rent to own, we've got no maintenance costs because the tenant looks at buying the property. So we're doing rent to own schemes for 5 years. And the tenant knows how much they're going to buy the property from us in 5 years' time, and they know they own the property. This is after the first year. So we've got now an extra cash flow of £3,000 for the year. In the meantime, my husband's a banker. I can't do anything about my pension because I'm a civil servant, and you can't get a transfer value into a civil servant. So we're setting up a SAS, but I can't transfer my pension into the SAS, but my husband can. So it's taken a year, and we've set it up with me, my husband, and the 2 children. And so we've set up a SAS, and we found out the transfer value was 200,000 for the SAS. So what we're doing as a company, the SAS is lending us 100,000 for 5 years at 20%. We've still got the 50,000, even though we've bought 12 properties because we kept recycling the money. Plus we've got the other 3,000 for the year, because we've got wages still, so we haven't affected that. So that gives us 53 plus the 100. Now go and look for a commercial property in London, and we go for a property for 500,000. It's an empty shop with uppers. So what we do with that is we fill the shop and get a tenant in for 20,000 a year. So the uppers we're making made it into 2 3-bedroom flats. And then we use the new law that's coming to make another level. And we've used the 153,000 to do that. So basically, after we remortgage, now this property is worth 1,100 and...
It's going to be worth a lot more.
Yeah, it's worth a lot more.
Got it.
We claim capital allowances.
You will.
All the incomes we get in, we end up paying no tax because of capital allowances. Thank you, everyone.
But the cash flow isn't £3,000. It's £3,000 per property per year.
Per year, yes, it's true.
So you're going to be adding something like 12 grand of cash flow per year just on the rent, never mind the lump sums that come in when you sell it. Now, what Cynthia did next, very smart, the SAS can lend, or you can borrow 50% of its value, so that's the 100k. Did you pick up the interest rate she's paying herself? 20%. So why'd you go so high, Cynthia?
So that it will be doubled by the time...
Yeah, so Cynthia wants to pay herself a high rate of interest. So,
build up the pension
she's
pot
putting
quickly.
back, so she's borrowing 100, but she's going to put back 200.
Yeah, you know.
And where I thought you were going, just keep it nice and simple, is you've already got your 50k pot.
Yeah.
That would have given you a 150k pot.
Yep.
Now you can do one a month, because you can do 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
Even if you just did one a month by using your cash from your inheritance plus the money from your SAS, how much extra cash flow are you going to be adding to the family? You're going to be adding £3,000 per year per property, but now you're adding 12 a year. That's £36,000 a year.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, you're going to have added £180,000 a year of cash flow. And if you're doing one in, one out, if you're buying one a month, you're going to be, on average, selling one a month to the tenant buyers and making an extra 20 or 30 grand capital gain. So never mind £180,000 cash flow, you're going to be picking up an extra 200,000-300,000 from proceeds of sales. Then you have to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
But just that single strategy, would that work?
Yeah.
I am Sen, and today I'm transporting my head into the shoes of young Gary, who's a 30-year-old entrepreneur, never worked for anyone before, always for himself. And his experience is in technology, a technology business of some sort where he has 2 staff, and it pays about 2 to 5k per month. Over recent years, it's been selling Amazon products. And unfortunately, where this went wrong was having outlaid in the region of £500,000 on stock. Amazon declared his stock out of date and wrote it off, and at the moment the vast majority of his time is spent trying to claim this money back. He doesn't have a huge amount of capital, well, no real capital to invest in assets. So what I, as Gary, have looked at is making 3 big goals to focus on. As an entrepreneur, he's learned his lessons that with the Amazon business, he took a bit of a gamble to hope that all the cards would land in favor. So whatever strategy he chooses to invest with, he wants to make sure there's a lot more certainty and commitment in the end outcome. I've got an idea in the back of my mind. I've heard that just like Amazon products has been a big trend, the service accommodation market is riding a big growth wave. So what I and my team are going to do is look in amongst the service accommodation forums and Facebook groups, and over time, quite quickly, I realized that the best demand source, well, not the best, but a good demand source that provides decent occupancy and longer bookings is coming from the world of contractors. So with that one idea, me and my 2 assistants are going to go looking for the demand source for contract bookings. And that's going to inform where we set our business up. And how we're going to do that, we're going to look for not just a house build that's happening right now, but we want to look ahead to major infrastructure projects that are happening in this country. It could be anywhere in the UK, regardless of where I'm based. I want to find major projects that could be 2 to 4 to 8 years running that are going to require hundreds of skilled tradespeople to come in, and I want to help solve their accommodation problem. So that's my hypothesis. And the job that myself and my team have is to get to the root of that demand source and the people who are booking the accommodation. What I find a few months down the line is that probably the right model that's going to be an optimal balance is to have 3-bedroom properties that can accommodate 6 men or women and typically spend between 20 to 20 something pounds per man per night. So I know my numbers roughly are going to be in the region of paying, and I'm going to be using a rent-to-rent model, so I'm not buying here, I don't have capital. So I find that a regional 3-bedroom property that's not in a city centre location, it's got parking and it's got 15 to 30 minutes driving distance from the site that I find to go and serve. I find that the properties will typically rent for between £800 and £1,000 a month in regional parts of the UK. And what I'm going to do is make sure I've got the commitment of the companies who need the accommodation up front and written commitment, and as far as possible, even paid in advance. So I don't have to outlay what little cash I have to get started. Using these top line numbers of about 800 to 1,000 to rent a property, I know that by charging £20 per person per night, I can let out on a service basis the 3-bedroom property for about 3,600, give or take. Here, year one, I would look to create, bearing in mind there's research plus putting the properties in place through rent to rent, generate with 6 units, £6,750 per month in net profit. A big jump up from my 2 to 5K, right? In year 2, I know what I'm doing now, and I'm following the same model, even if it's not in the same location. If I find another site in England, Scotland, Wales, wherever it might be, I start with the demand, and then year 2, I add 10 properties, an additional 11,250 per month. So plus the year 1 recurring revenue, I'm up to about 18K per month by adding 10. So I've got 16 in total. 18K roughly, I'm just doing top line figures. And in year 2 to 3, what I start to realize is that 2 things. I don't have to go and take leases out on tons of properties if I want to grow the business. In fact, the faster way for me to scale would be to control the demand source and sell the bookings to existing operators. So here I'm assuming that I can add at least 5K a month in agency fees if I'm invoicing 50K worth of bookings across the country. In addition, I'm starting to make a name for myself in communities, and people want a little piece of the action, to have properties like this set up for themselves. So I start a packaging business. Let's say on average 7K across each package deal, and let's just say I do enough to generate, well, let's go with 40 to 50K's worth of fees in a year. So that might be 4 or 5 of these things. I'm also starting to channel some of my cash flow into deposits for commercial property. I'm going to go again, following the same model, and find the demand and understand where they want to be, what kind of property, what they're willing to pay. So in years 2 to 3, I start reinvesting into the commercial properties. And just some projections here. Let's say in year 3, I just buy 1 of these. I'm conservatively saying I can buy 1 in year 3. In year 4, let's say I add another 3, channeling all the excess profits from this into the deposits. And then year 5, jumping up to adding 6. But what I'm aiming for is that after year 5, I've not only got a cash flowing business that's running, I've now started to build my asset base, and with 9 properties, I've got, on the basis of being valued at 200K each, I've got 1.8 million gross value in the portfolio, and it's generating a total of 104K net with those 9 properties per year. My case with Amazon has come to a head where they don't want me to take legal action. They want to keep me quiet, so they're offering 310K to settle now. What would be my consideration points? I think this is going to be based on a decision of time, speed, and opportunity cost. So I'm considering here, what's it going to take for me to fight this with a great lawyer, the cost of that, the length of the process, and the probability of getting the further 190K back. Versus if I take 310K now and invest that in this kind of model of commercial property, I might be able to get, say, up to 4 properties, between 4 and 5 properties, based on these numbers, in with 310K, and in about 2 years, perhaps make up that 190k shortfall. I'm inclined to fight it and channel some of the cash flow from the SA business into legal fees to get the money back out within a year, 18 months, and then get started investing 500k.
I can absolutely see how you can do that. If you were Gary and you were Mr. Entrepreneurial, the challenge with an entrepreneur is normally taking a 5-year focus. They want to be a billionaire by this time next week. So for you to take a 5-year horizon, absolutely buy it. I'd be interested. You know, what do we think Gary might need to do? He's got to 30. He's kind of put all his chips on red, hasn't he, with Amazon?
Yeah. Hence the lesson to change his ways.
Yeah.
And flip it around with certainty.
If any of us had amassed over years of Amazon trading £500,000, would we all stick it into one product and put one product on Amazon? I think
most likely not.
No, we probably wouldn't. We'd take a proportion. We might do 100 or something, depending on your risk profile. But to take all of your money and stick it on one product, that's a gutsy decision. I think, Sarah, you said, well, maybe ask for a bit more or whatever. And I absolutely buy the logic of not employing a lawyer, because if you employ a lawyer, they'll close down immediately. And I actually think, perversely, you've got more chance without a lawyer than you've got with a lawyer, is roughly my experience, but what do I know? Good, thank you, Gary. Okay, weren't they wonderful? So that's the first 3 of the 6 personas you're going to see in terms of how they adapt to the challenges that life puts in front of them, because we all get challenges, don't we? Specifically, I need to share with you that as a result of last week's vote, we've got to say goodbye to Lee, which is really sad in a way, but not, because Lee's made huge progress over the last year that we've been working together. So congratulations, Lee. Good luck on your journey, and I know we're going to be staying in touch. So there are no losers in this competition, but only one person can win, or only one couple can win if it's a couple. So hope you've enjoyed this week's. Tune in for more role play and for more problem solving next week. And no vote this week, but just be thinking about, did you prefer one of those 3, or will you prefer one of the next 3 that you're going to see? Because every vote counts. As always, you've been wonderful. I've been Paul. See you next time.